Good evening. This is the August 2nd, 2023 regular monthly meeting of the Town of Old Lyme Economic Development Commission. We have in attendance Mona Colwell, Wendy Russell, John Stratton, Scott Smith, and myself, Cheryl Poirier. We do have a quorum because we have 5 out of 9 commissioners here. Excused is Joe Kamian, and I believe, I need to check my notes, I believe Gene Wilczynski is also still out of town. So I will double check my notes on that. Okay, the first order of business is the approval of the July 5th, 2023 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Yes, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Motion. Thank you, John. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Mona, thank you. Discussion. I do have one comment from Jean. I neglected to include in the minutes mention of the Saybrook Chamber of Commerce and what they were recently doing with us. So,
Naming.
oh, thank you, John. It was the renaming of the Old Saybrook Chamber of Commerce to the Greater Old Saybrook Chamber of Commerce. So we will add that that was under new or additional business, and that was brought up by Jean in the last meeting. Any other comments or discussion regarding the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
I wasn't here, so I guess I abstained.
Okay, so one abstention. Are you an abstention?
No, I think I was here.
Okay, so are you an aye?
Aye.
Okay, all right. And we have MJ DeRizio entering, but I think we're good on approving the minutes. So those are set. The next order of business is public comment. We have no one here in the audience in person, so is there anyone on the phone who would like to add public comment? Hearing none, we will move on to marketing and promotion. The first thing we have on that is Midsummer Festival outreach. How many people do you think took part in our raffle?
It was a lot.
I'd say,
250.
I'd say 310.
There was a lot of slips in there.
150.
Okay, 137.
Wow.
So you're close.
Sound like a lot more.
Yeah,
like more.
I thought it was a lot more than that.
That's how many people put slips in. But, you know, we had many more people stop at the table.
Yeah.
So that it was a great idea, Wendy, to do the basket because it definitely brought people to the table. And I also, for the minutes, I'd like to thank the businesses that provided something for a really wonderful gift basket. That was Black Hall Marina, Chocolate Shell, Hallmark Drive-In, Homeward Collective, Marna Runes, who we'll come back to, Old Lyme Nails, Old Lyme Hardware, Old Lyme Landscape, Salty Monkey, The Carousel, The Hideaway, The Pavilion, and The Stumble Inn. So we really want to thank those businesses. And we also gave people the opportunity, or businesses the opportunity to drop off marketing materials, and they did, and we put those on our table. So I want to thank everyone for participating at the table, and the setup, Mona, was great, and breakdown was easy. So thank you, everyone, because everyone did a great job. Okay, Eastern Regional Tourism District update.
That's me.
Wendy.
Hi. So I had a meeting with Mark Dixon, who is the head of the Film Commission for the state, and he just gave me the lowdown on what we need to do as a town in order to, you know, be represented. They represent us, but we could do more. So we have to establish a point of contact at the town hall. It's typically the selectman's office or someone therein in most other towns. So like Essex, they have their representative in Norm Needleman, I guess, whatever. So he gave me examples. So he said that once we determine the point of contact, if we're definitely interested, we would come up with a list of locations in town that are unique. And he named a few for me, you know, like the Art Academy, Florence, you know, the norms.
The carousel.
Yeah, all of that. And then we could do a link to the website, because they have their own listing. So where it'll come up that we're interested in having film crews and having whatever, you know, anybody needs. And these are the locations that are unique to our area. So, you know, I don't know if we could have, I forgot her name,
Katie.
Be maybe the point of contact, and then once we do that, they'll list us on their site, and then we could link it to our site as well.
Okay.
So it's just a thought, you know, you said the people are definitely interested. Essex is on their site, like there's a bunch of towns listed, we're not.
Okay.
So.
What is their site? You can come back to us with that?
I could email it to you.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Wouldn't it be useful or beneficial to have a member of this committee be a liaison with the point of contact? And
Well, it has to be someone that's there, like,
well,
on a normal business day, like all the time.
but wouldn't we be able to provide them with a list of things that we think are unique?
Yep.
Or, you know, rather than add to their burden, and then it benefits us by sort of pointing them in the directions we'd like to go.
Well, that's what they want us to do.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the point of contact, they said they prefer someone that is, you know, there on a regular basis.
There where? In the
Wherever the contact
yeah.
is.
And what would be the purpose of that? Why would it be that person?
I would imagine it's during business hours that someone needs to be available and talk to them about, you know,
Permissions.
location, permissions, access, who knows?
I would suggest too that often film people looking for B-roll, that is, they have their main theme, but you know, our special local knowledge of the wandering estuary that no one, it's officially okay to go there,
Right.
but nobody knows about it.
So
they
those
could
are
come-
things that we need to give them. So I have, and I apologize because I was away, I just got home, and I have an email.
Okay.
And my email's not working on my phone. So he listed a bunch of places that they would be interested in.
Okay.
You know, and then he wanted us to list places as well.
So what if the first step is when we see his list, we can share it among the commission via email, so we don't wait until September because season's closing.
Right.
And we can see if we think other things should be added that he hadn't thought of. And then parallel to that, we can talk to Katie Balaka, because I can imagine, John, like if he's doing B-roll of, I don't know, down by Duck River, someone's going to call...
Ooh, kid.
Yeah, someone is going to call the selectman's office to say, who is that taking film, you know,
So we,
shots
correct.
of, yeah, and then,
Public property owner.
so, but anyway, that way the selectman's office knows, because they get all the calls on why is this happening or why is that happening. So I think that makes good sense.
Can I ask a question? Who is taking this film, and does it cost us money?
No, it's just what it is if the Hallmark Channel wants to film a Christmas show in our area or somewhere, they're looking for spots. And the gentleman that does, like Hallmark, for instance, I'm just going to use that as an example, lives in Norwich, so he's very familiar with this whole area. But there's other people that always want to film, like in a, you know, a setting such as this. They would need to call and get permission, and you have to, you know, I'm sure there's all kinds of things they need to have, you know, and it has to go through the town because they need to have the permission. They have to know that it's okay to bring in whatever they're bringing in. You know, it depends on, I mean, I know Hallmark was down here at this house off of Lime
Oh, right,
Street,
yeah.
and then they were in Lime. And, you know, they had all kinds of trucks and parking, but that was between the owners.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling there's more to it sometimes if you're in downtown, if they want to use Lime Street, for instance.
So it's location scouting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically that. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that we're perfect for that kind of thing, especially for all those types of films and, I don't know, any kind of film, I guess,
Yeah.
depending on what it is. But the Hallmark Channel seems to love us. You know.
True.
And they also shot in Essex and Norwich, here and New Haven. They did the train station. They did a bunch of different places. So.
PBS goes on location too at times, and I have a photographer that used to do work for me, and I know he works for Disney, and he's come down here and done drone work and things like that because there's a New England theme or a river theme or something, and he likes to come down here. So sometimes it's just up to whoever's doing the filming, so we shouldn't, we should broaden our horizons.
Well, I think that if Katie or whoever was the point of contact and then you were the second point, like to say, okay, can one of you do this or that? You could reach out to us, right? Like if they need, I don't know what they would need, but
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. So it was interesting. He was very excited that we were interested. So.
What's the time frame for this? Is it like open-ended, or do they do it during seasons, or?
No, it's just whenever someone. They always have people. He said they always have people contacting them for locations.
Okay.
Always. Whether it be a movie or what have you. So he's a really nice guy too. He'll work with us to make it happen.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Anything else on Eastern Connecticut?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's huge, that's great.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Ribbon cuttings. I think since the last time we met, we did have the Salty Monkey ribbon cutting, which was great. And we have a few more in the wings. There is a new business opening on Hartford Avenue in Soundview in what currently has a sign called Soundview Market, which will be Figs and Olives, I believe it's called. Figs and Olives, Bacon Olive, Olives and Figs. And that was the name of a previous, no.
This is a new one.
Oh, okay.
I'd be surprised if it just came on for sale.
Yeah, no, this is someone renting.
Oh, okay.
And they apparently had been in that location before, but Mediterranean. They're going to have breakfast and lunch, is my understanding. I could be a little off that because I'm getting that secondhand from someone on the Soundview Commission. So that's exciting to have another active business there.
Seasonal?
Likely seasonal, but I don't know that for sure. And then we have Marna Runes, which is, Wendy came across them going around asking businesses about our raffle. And she is a woman who makes macaroons. And she's got I looked at her materials today. She has a very interesting business plan and all. And I've left her, I sent her an email asking about a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, she did say, though, she's not looking to be like a huge storefront.
Right.
She had to do that for business purposes because she wants to sell.
Just to do mail order. And
yeah,
sale
and I guess
stuff
if
like
you're a household business, you can't do.
Yeah, you need Pennsylvania Department of Agricultural
There's
approval. If
Yeah.
it's so big and you have such a distribution.
So that's the reason she did the storefront, but she will sell to the public. But she's not, like you walk in and it's not like aesthetically pleasing. It's like an empty room with ovens and everything.
Okay, yeah.
But the macarons looked delicious. She was packaging them up. I think she's looking more to do them in bulk and like maybe, for weddings and things like that, because she does pretty packaging and all of that. So that's what I
like the popcorn guy that we could never get to.
Right.
Even talk
I
to.
tried 3 times
How many
the last
times
time
did
we tried. And I know them. I did a big story on them for the residents.
Candace
They-
Steinway.
For,
Bureau.
yeah, for this
Bureau.
project, right.
Roland Road, Bureau.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But regardless, new
Yeah.
business in town.
Right.
So, I think she'd make a very interesting story, for sure. She's into conscious capitalism and things like that, so she's got an interesting angle for sure. And then we have a behavioral approach. They want to do their ribbon cutting the week after Labor Day. That might be a week evening or something, so I'm going to start working on that date for everyone.
That's one back on Davis Road.
Yes, yeah. Does anyone know of other business openings that we haven't talked about? Not property openings, but, business.
I don't, but I was making an inquiry about the Sandy Garvin Gallery and what was going to happen there, because I thought I had someone that wanted it. And according to Jim Grable, I think Lizzie McCarthy has taken the space, so I'm not sure what her plans are.
Okay,
So maybe when we're in there, one of us could ask.
okay. With the chocolate shell.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Someone has
That's
seen
the
her
bookend.
popping in there, too.
Right.
Okay. Also, I'd like to mention Old Lime Ice Cream Shop, as you know, is closing August 30th. It's basically a retirement, and that's becoming a residential property. So we just want to wish, I'm sure you'll join me in wishing Angie best wishes. She's been in business there for 10 years, and it's been an important part of Lime Street and being an attraction for people who are looking for a small, quaint street to take a walk on some afternoon. Okay,
Have you met the people who are going to renovate the space for their gallery?
I haven't. Have you?
No,
Okay.
but I know who they are.
Okay.
I just found out because I had asked, and it was supposed to be like under wraps until August, the end of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think what's really great is that we don't have empty buildings,
Right.
It's sad when businesses go away, but at the same time, we're not dealing with empty
Did we ever do anything for Nina Peck, even though it's kind of a relo? She went over to the red building
Right,
on Lime Street.
yeah. I think you were talking to her or something.
She told me that they mostly work from home, but it's
Yeah.
rented space, and they're in there.
Mm-hmm, okay.
When you said empty spaces, that's what made me think of it. It wasn't anything like a new business, just a movement.
Right, yeah.
I mean, would you consider that
I don't know that she would consider it a
Right.
ribbon cutting situation.
right?
Yeah.
But certainly
Something
a welcome letter or something.
Yeah,
Keeping
Yeah.
the business here
right,
would be, it's a good thing.
right, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Is that the building that used
I
to
haven't
be
seen her in a
the
while.
Colonial Liquor Store back in the days of...
Well, it's next to EF Watermelon, the red antique.
Oh, it's the one, it's
Yeah.
the watermelon.
Yeah,
The other one
next to EF Watermelon, yeah. Okay, and MJ, you are up with a real estate update.
Okay, well, if you haven't heard, the big marina sold.
Oh,
Yes,
Great.
2.1 million, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
4
July
Mile
28th.
River Marina.
Excuse me, yep, it closed.
The 4 Mile River?
Mhm. Yep. So, we're kind of excited about that. I have a call in again to the agent, John Arruda, to see what new plans, if any, there may be over there. So
Can you
that's.
keep an eye on that for
I
like a
will.
new owner ribbon cutting type thing?
Do we know
Yeah,
who
and he'll
bought
get
it?
back to me. No,
Really?
I asked him, it just popped up, it closed. It just came up literally, like I have a little watch list. Come on. Anyway, in addition to that, a new property came on for sale on Hartford Avenue, and it's listed at $325. I have a picture of it. the address is 47 Hartford Avenue, and this is what it looks like.
Called the Green Monster.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, what they
The
call it.
smiley faces up in the windows, did you notice those? Or the eyebrows?
What do you know about?
I don't, it just came on today.
Okay.
However, the listing for the excess space that's on the market over at Point of Woods where the liquor store went, and then there was that little
Right.
office space they weren't using, that came on as well in the past week or so.
As a lease.
As a lease,
Uh-huh.
but the listing says that it's available as a restaurant. You know, there were all kinds of things listed as potential uses that I questioned, so I called her, because I don't want her to get in trouble either, the agent. So I was kind of surprised, because the space is very small. So I have my eye on that. And then I thought the Lindsay thing was interesting, and houses are still flying, residential properties are flying. You just can't keep up.
So do we have commercial properties that just aren't moving,
No.
either for lease or sale?
Well, you know, Shore Road, 389 Shore Road, the landing, is it the landing where all the offices are in there?
Yes.
Several of them rented, there's only one spot left.
Oh, wait, tell me again the address?
389 Shore Road.
Okay.
What did you say that was going for, 325?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know you had a price.
I did, 325.
Oh,
Probably needs a lot of work, I haven't been in it.
well, it's a house and a business. So-
Well,
Good. Or what about the little cottages next to it? No, okay.
nothing,
Okay.
there's staying put. There's no market news on them.
Yeah.
Somebody buy the restaurant down there? Because I noticed the sign was gone.
No,
Black Hall Kitchen or whatever.
no.
Oh, the sign's gone?
Yeah.
No, I think they probably took it off the market. It's not on when I ran my commercial list
Okay.
just now, which is why I was late. It's not there, and I don't run withdrawn, canceled, expired listings, which I guess I should, but they probably are just taking it off. It was way overpriced. And I've got people who want property like that. So I can tell you from a business perspective that there are a number of interested parties in parcels that just aren't suitable, perfectly suitable, but they are looking, and they are specifically looking here for whatever reason. I know the reasons. They want you to stay in Old Lyme or start in Old Lyme, whatever the case may be. So it's all good, but commercial takes time.
Right, yeah. Okay, and residential is still very quick.
Residential is still hotter than Hades, and there's, you know, the medium, the active price for what's on the market in Old Lyme is $900,000+. And we're talking about like properties that aren't on the market for more than like, on average, 40 days. They're just flying. The closed properties, let me just see what it has here. Average days on market, 30. Average sales price, and that includes everything from 200 to millions, is over 800, almost 810,000. That's 1 month. I only did 1 month. 2 months, because I know I wasn't here last month. And it was, how many properties? 11. So the inventory is still tight. 6 are under contract for 902,000 list. We can't keep up. And housing prices are not decreasing. Just volumes of listings and then subsequently or consequently volumes of sales and things like that are down.
Okay. All right, thank you. Busy times.
And it's very busy, surprisingly.
Okay, economic revitalization, we were just going to talk about the Shoreline Gateway Committee. Joe Kamian is excused tonight, he's out of town, but I do know that about 2 weeks ago, the Shoreline Gateway Commission, no, maybe a week ago, presented to Sound View Commission the findings of the survey. And I would like them to come and present to us the findings of the survey because we co-sponsored that community survey last October. But they give some value added to the findings. And there are some big picture items like people who responded to the survey. And this was really focused on what do people want to see and what they currently think about both the Shore Road, which is the gateway to Soundview, so Hartford Avenue and Shore Road, from about what we call the old Gulf Station to around the police station. And the majority want family friendly, like just really focus on family, safe, clean, family vacation, that sort of thing. A walkable environment, which usually translates into multi-use, like making sure if someone has a building that they have retail, they can utilize the second floor for an apartment or something. Supporting small businesses, kind of steering away from, which I think is many of our own philosophies, steering away from big box, or chain stores. We want unique, small businesses in this area. Dealing with blight, finding some way to deal with blight in a town that does not have the capabilities or the resources, I'll say instead, the resources for a blight officer. So they need to address blight somehow. And there was a fifth one, and that is that people have optimism about that whole area. Like they see that it can be a wonderful location. So those are kind of the big 5 takeaways from the survey. Again, there were about 1,200 people who took the survey last fall. So this is just the beginning of the process. But I would like for them to share with us more of that survey.
Off the top of your head, do you remember if the survey questions, which I took a while ago, were directed toward seasonality or year-round things?
It asked the question, do you want this to be a seasonal area or a year-round area?
I remember something.
And I can't remember the breakout of what people felt about Hartford Avenue, but Shore Road, surely, I drive it multiple times a day as a year-round resident. So,
you're on that commission.
No, no.
Or not?
Joe Kamian is.
Oh, I thought you were helping him.
Well, in the past, yes. I have nothing against it. It's good. Go ahead.
So that's where that is.
I like your final point about optimism. If it had the sort of fairy dust of optimism on it, I think things would move along. People would be coming to you with ideas.
They are. They are. I mean, it's really busy. The spots are so prime. And again, we come back to the issue of zoning not to be, it's not the issues that prohibit things, but the fact that it's so mixed over there. It's a blend of residential and commercial, and that
On Shore
particular
Road,
side,
yeah.
Shore Road,
Yeah.
not the beach side, there's going to be a lot of headbutting about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because any of the business ideas or the business potential commercial spaces are offensive. It's just the same old, don't dilute my property value. I don't want to live next to a this or that, and no matter how benign it is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that I'm expecting, but
And then also, when you get down into Hartford Avenue, especially, it's people, we talk about it so often, people are waiting to find out what's going to happen with wastewater management, sewers versus septic, and then also parking. If you have a business, you need to have parking for your customers. So,
I believe there's public water on Shore Road all Longshore Road.
Well, there's a
because-
main line for the beaches.
Yes, but the water can be brought to the other side because I know property owners that are doing it at a cost. Yes, I do. Permitted and everything. And you figure, everybody's got water over there. The Gulf Station, the Mini Mart, the police station. I don't think they're operating on wells, maybe the police station, but the other side has public water. I know there's all
If
public
they're-
water on Griswold Point. I know there's public water available to the little houses.
Oh, I'm sorry, MJ, I'm confusing water with waste.
Oh,
So,
excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, water.
Yes,
There's
public
public
water,
water
yes,
all along
yes,
there.
but not sewers.
Right.
I'm
Right,
sorry,
right.
yeah.
Which is a big deal. I mean,
Yes.
a positive thing.
Yeah.
You're halfway there.
Yeah, it's the septic that's,
Right,
or
no,
the
no,
sewer
no.
that's the
No, there's water.
ongoing issue.
There's public water
Yeah,
there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, more additional business. Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk about is long-term planning or strategic planning. We had in our reserves money from before my time on the EDC, 2018, left over from the survey process with CERC. There was about $7,000 left over for a strategic planning process. That has been put back in the kitty. I couldn't hold on to it any longer. So, good for the town, but we couldn't figure out how to use it to do strategic planning. But I do think we need to start slowly coming up with a way to use the findings from CERC, and just come up with some sort of framework that we can operate in. Because we're doing things like ribbon cuttings or going to midsummer outreach and monitoring different situations, but we need, I feel like we're lacking a framework. And so I thought if we broke this down so that every meeting we did one little thing, like next month we just review the mission statement that is on our web page, and I can share that with you if you want. But then the next month, okay, if that's our mission statement to support businesses, how do we measure that? What are some measures of success? And that's our October meeting. And we just slowly draft this thing over a series of months. Maybe what's one big strategy that we can do to get to this particular measure of success? Maybe we can start to craft an overall plan for the EDC. So I will just tell you right now, the current mission statement, if you don't know, the EDC supports economic investment and revitalization of existing businesses while attracting new commerce and cultural opportunities, complementing the true spirit and character of the community, resulting in long-term employment and a diversified economic base, further benefiting the quality of life for all who live in and visit Old Lyme, committed to working openly and collaboratively with stakeholders. It goes on. So I'm going to suggest, and you all can push back and rethink, but if I were to send out the mission statement by email to you, would you consider noodling over it and let's discuss it at the next meeting?
Sure.
I like the idea of breaking down the mission statement into something that we could, at least for 10 minutes at a given meeting, approach.
Mm-hmm.
How about X?
Right.
Discuss, come up with a sort of general thing, because part of our fall meetings presumably will be looking back at the summer. What do the merchants think? We've had good weather, we've had some bad weather, but mostly good weather.
Mm-hmm.
And how do people feel optimism-wise? And I still think that there are unresolved problems. That's not a naughty or a nasty way of saying, what the heck are we going to do about such and such? We have those, but if we developed a theme for those places, that would be an action item that we could you could approach the defunct businesses with
Mm-hmm.
an idea and let them say no.
I would think that our action items, as well as maybe looking back at our successes, the action items we try to attach a cost to, because we were very generous in giving that back, which is all goodwill.
Yeah,
So when we go back and say, this is what we want to do to develop interest or encourage business, it costs money.
That's a
But
great
we have to be
point.
very specific about what it is we want to do, not get so ill-defined that we just ask for like $4,000.
Right.
But, for example, the ribbon cuttings, there were how many? 12? 15? What did they cost us? We printed, we had paper, we had
Frames,
frames, we had
picture frames,
scissors,
yeah,
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
people, we had photography.
Right.
Just build it up in little chunks and move on from there. So the action items probably need to have some dollar value.
yeah, I like that a lot, MJ, good point.
Well, and Cheryl, are we gonna do an event again, like the luncheon event, where the EDC invited everybody to come into a forum and speak again? Because, I think we're at or past the 1-year mark from that, aren't we? What month was that?
That was in March, and what the commissioners came out wanting was something that wasn't put on by the EDC, but put on by like the selectman's office or something, that was just the commissioners doing a themed thing every quarter, and that has not started yet.
So that we did the EDC one in March of
March, you're right.
March of
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
So here we are in the summer of 2023, and nothing's been done. Why did they want to take that away from the EDC when you did such a great job?
Oh, no, there wasn't any reason for that. They wanted to continue to have it. I would probably be involved in organizing it, but they wanted to have like a theme of, I don't know, shoreline protection or, different themes that were necessary.
Right.
But to your point, Mona, we may decide in this plan, we want to have an annual event for businesses. And I do want to circle back to what John's saying. I have that as a separate action item or item on the under new business, talking to the Soundview businesses about how the summer went. So maybe we could, maybe it makes sense within our vision or mission and different strategies we have that we pull together, like we have a one-day forum for businesses in town or business people in town.
Or even just a 2-hour lunch meeting.
Yeah.
Or something. So for those of you who don't know, this was back in 2022, and what Cheryl had arranged was in this room. It was a very well put together presentation. Several different people spoke, and people from different committees in town were identified, and every single committee, commission, department was invited, and they could send a couple people. Cheryl didn't turn anybody down, so it was really whoever was interested in coming, and people had the opportunity to actually talk with people in other committees that they would never speak to try to break down those barriers for people to see each other as people instead of just some other committee that's not letting them do what they want to do. It was very great for people to meet each other face to face and put a face to the people and connect, and there was a lot of collaboration that took place that day, that people left with good feelings about other people within the town. So it was a great event. But it was a lot of work, and you had speakers, and it was all day on a Saturday or something.
Yeah.
So, even just doing a smaller event a couple times a year, I know there are a lot of events that people put on, but I find most of the events in this town, like you have to be invited to go, and this could be something where it's more open, where everybody's allowed to come.
Maybe we do something, and we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but maybe we do something like Zoning 101 for businesses in town, or something like that, So,
Do you know how many of the key businesses, I say that, not to exclude anyone, but forget the home office people, the the storefront people, the people with, that are out every day that we talk to and say, do you know how many of them joined the chamber, the joint chamber? Have we made an effort to get them involved? Because, and then my other question is, they had said they would continue to support Old Lyme, and I wonder who's carrying that ball for us.
So I think,
Laurie Walker?
No. Name went out of my head. Rich Shriver
Yes.
was joining their board to represent Old Lyme, and they're holding quarterly, they have these Thursday morning meeting things like where everyone gets to say what's going on in their business and
Yes, I went to one last month at
LAA. Okay, so they're doing another one this month.
Right.
And then I told her the EDC could host a future one, just not this one. So maybe in October or something, we can host one in this room. We'll set it up for coffee and everything.
Well, there you go. That could be.
Yeah.
That could be an event for
That could be one of our
this
events.
year. Yeah, for 2023.
But I would think it would behoove us to encourage our businesses to join that effort. And they have a website. Have we been, we had talked, I don't know, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'm just trying to figure out where the integration is. And as a subset of a very big organization, they had told us we wouldn't be an ugly stepchild.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they need to help us a little more.
I think their
Know how we're
website is
working with
under,
Well, I heard an ad this morning on the radio for the Greater Old Saybrook Chamber of Commerce, which includes East Lyme and Old Lyme. That was.
okay.
There you go.
Oh,
Very
I
nice.
don't know how much East Lyme is involved, but that's all right.
Oh, good.
Good.
But, I mean, it was a regular ad,
Okay.
94.9.
Excellent.
That reminds me, we could run an ad locally in the one of those local, economic development is here to help you, blah, 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 blah. And that's another action item with the dollar value kind of.
Do we have anybody that does social media? I think that's where we really would get the most bang.
So we need to include that in our plan to bring to the town because the policy in Old Lyme and in many towns, but in Old Lyme, is that there's one they don't do Instagram. There's
Right.
one Facebook page for the town of Old Lyme.
Okay.
We can post things like our ribbon cutting or broad economic things we want to bring up, like it's the summer season starting, that sort of thing, but we can't promote one business over another business. And that's the difficulty with, and if you look at like Saybrook Economic Development or other towns' economic development, you will see they're not promoting, the Bowerbirds having a sale this Sunday. It's more visit Main Street or, that
someone
kind of
doing
thing.
a video.
Hosted by.
But that was one of the items that we had hoped to achieve by joining the chamber.
Oh,
So
okay,
I wondered if the chamber would give us the ability to post social media relevant to Old Lyme.
We can give them press releases that they will post. Yeah.
So that would be
Mhm.
helpful,
I
I would think. Facebook,
Well, and
Instagram.
Instagram is huge right now.
Right.
On our website, the Explore Online website, under the business tab, that they have access to that,
That they have that.
access to the chamber.
Oh, yes, yep. There's a page that's resources. I have to actually update it and take offline online, but yeah, I'll update the chamber one
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
I'd like to move on to Soundview because we did at some point say we were going to, this was just a conversation I had with Soundview Commission, but I think our EDC wanted to visit with Soundview, I know, it was the parking issue. So we wanted to visit with the Old Lyme or the Soundview businesses at the end of the season to see how it went.
Frank Papalardo. See if he wants to break.
They're not happy.
Well,
Well,
what we
I'd
need
rather
to
meet with the
do is
business owners.
go,
Frank doesn't own a business that's selling
Right.
retail.
but what I thought we could do is have office hours, a particular day or a couple of evenings or something, down in the we'll see if we can use the Soundview
Community room.
I'm sure. And they can walk down and come talk to us and tell us how the season went.
Right, that's a good idea.
Put some of the burden on them by invitation to do that, too. I mean, to show up, if we were going to do that in the community room, make sure they know that they're welcome.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
is their chance.
Yeah.
So, because we don't want anybody backbiting. They never ask us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Does anyone know how many parking spaces Lenny Cordo got? I know he was awarded a significant number by zoning. He asked for parking. He didn't want his people parking over across the road.
Okay, that
Because
was
Park
Frank
Avenue.
Murata.
That's, Lenny
Owner of
Cordo,
Pavilion.
2 years ago, was asking for specific ones, but he was turned down. But I think that maybe the Kokomo's was asking.
That's what I would think.
I
Kokomo
don't
was
think Lenny is
asking.
running Kokomo's anymore. I think he's involved.
Right.
I don't know why he needs more.
I'll ask again because zoning had told me.
Okay.
I'll just check their records.
Yeah. But maybe, let's see, when's Labor
I
Day?
know
Labor
we had
Day
a
is
person from the public who didn't want the parking. Maybe we call her and ask her.
Labor Day is the 4th. I don't know if we want to do right after Labor Day or right before Labor Day, like the 30th, 31st or something. Any thoughts on that?
My thought would be get a letter or an email, if we have the email addresses, get it out earlier and say it will be in toward the end of September or something like that. So
Or August?
Yeah.
Did they leave right after committee?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we put them on notice,
Yeah.
then they'll be ready to show up before it's time to pull out.
Before you leave for summer, winter vacation, like just make it that big. We're going to have office hours.
Yeah.
Get your input.
Okay,
feedback.
so I have to reserve that community room and,
I think they'll be delighted to have us there. I mean, it's an appropriate use for it. It's on the site.
Even if we
Coffee and
do,
donuts, whatever.
yeah, we could do a morning and we could do an afternoon or something, or after work.
we could do a couple of segments and they don't have to be long and see who shows up. And
Yeah. Okay.
That's a
So
good
is
idea.
everyone
That's a great idea.
on board on that?
You
Okay.
could also pre-warn Jerry Bowles at the carousel and that end of the street there too, and the Salty Monkey to be involved, just touch base with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What I would do is reserve the space, and then either walk the street or get word out to them.
I'm sure Frank
that-
has a list of who they are. I'm sure.
Yeah, well,
he
we
is.
have a list of who they
Oh,
are,
okay.
so, yeah.
Sure.
We're good. Okay. That was that. Any other new or additional business?
Well, I'd like to just bring up something that some of us may have seen this on social media. There were definitely people that were speaking out after midsummer that they were disappointed. So I don't think if that, I mean, I personally think it's something that we should look at if people are saying that they're disappointed, should we, have a discussion about some of the things that they're upset about? Does it matter to us? Does it not matter to us?
I
Had a
agree.
comment.
I had people send me personal emails. It seemed like it wasn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
And we know that we had less traffic than we normally would have, but it was a very hot day. I don't think people that were there were all fully aware that the fireworks have been canceled. But that being said, I think what they missed were the farmers markets. The day moved in phases. There was the live animals. There were little doggy shows. There was something for everyone. There was There were food trucks up and down the street. Maybe we should try to incorporate sidewalk sales with the Bowerbird and, local businesses and that sort of thing to make it more widespread, more organic to us.
Was this the first
People did
year
complain.
that all of the parking has been behind the flow grid? Because I never parked there. I mean, normally we would have parked over on Lime Street, so we, so like near, across from the school. So we would have walked up and down more, or, you know, years ago we might have parked at the school, and there was a lot more on that side of 95, which I know we've talked about this a little bit, you know, it's definitely morphed a lot in the last 10 years. But because we were parked behind the flow grids this year, primarily, it was the easiest parking, some people never even went to like the Lime Art Association. They just beelined straight to the car show, back to their car, and took off.
That I can't address, but I thought the parking was very well organized.
I did think the parking was great, but I don't think people knew where to go necessarily.
Well, they said there wasn't much on the other side either, at the, like, that's what,
Well,
Vendors
Okay,
and
I-
activities, you mean?
they moved it all over to where we were and further down. And then they didn't have it on the other side at the school.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to
there
read
was
to you.
nothing right over here, maybe.
If I may, I'm going to read to you a reply I gave to one of the comments saying, gosh, it was smaller this year. And other people did comment like, it was smaller, but I had a great time at the festival. But some people said, yeah, it's not worth going to anymore.
Right, it was all art, that was all it was.
And that was its start, so, forgive me if you've already seen this. So I wrote, hi all, as one of the organizers for the past 8 or so festivals, I thought I'd also share my 2 cents. First, I want to thank the nonprofits on Lime Street and Old Lime Inn for putting on the festival. You may not realize it, but being a free festival, these nonprofit organizations invest months of time and budget to put on the day. They pay their typical Monday to Friday staff to work Saturday because it's always all hands on deck. They spend budget on things like promotion and hiring extra parking attendants, but more significantly, investing the staff time that goes into the many months of planning, organizing, and then grounds preparation. So the festival is absolutely a labor of love for these organizations, not a moneymaker in any way other than the Lions Club Car Show fundraiser for scholarships. In addition, sponsors of the festival pay for the safety, crossing guards, shuttle buses, printed programs, and we can't thank our sponsors enough for covering these costs. The festival has changed in the past 35 years as times have changed. For many years, it was an arts festival just at the corner with Flow Grizz, Old Lime Inn, Lime Art Association, the Academy, and the Bee and Thistle. But in the 2010s, the committee wanted to try including more nonprofits further south on Lime Street, so extended the length. But no matter how we tried, thousands fewer people walked all the way down, and it was better and less costly for these nonprofits like the library and Historical Society to bring their outreach up to the more populated grounds north of I-95. Times have also changed as the museum could no longer get the farmers, as farmers markets became more popular and vendors had summer-long contracts with the weekly Saturday markets that could not be broken to attend the festival. We also compete for food trucks, which are harder to come by in July than you would. Poster mentioned that Studio 80 Plus freshens up every year with white paint for people to decorate, had given up the ghost recently with decay under the paint. They may fabricate a new sculpture for next year with enough time. So the festival looks different every year as each location decides on the space they have available, are they in the middle of renovations or expansion, and budget staff commitment they wish to invest, including months of work leading up to the festival, and then pivoting with the many last-minute changes that happen, all while praying to the weather gods, who have never let us down in 35 years. But it cannot be underestimated how much each location works to put on the best festival offerings they can. And then I go on because it was a very long post. But point being, things are tried and then adjusted because they're not working optimally.
well, in the first 5 or 6 years of the festival, I and 8 or 10 friends had an exhibit and testing, if you want to call it that way, of vintage small craft, rowing, sailing, paddling boats, which were in the back of the Bee and Thistle, with the full blessing of the Bee and Thistle, until the Bee and Thistle's insurance people said, what, you're giving boat rides? And they said, it's too complicated. So with the town's agreement, we use the launch area, so to speak, which would now be behind the Hangry Goose.
Yeah.
With the blessing of the town. But that's kind of a confusing walk over there. People don't quite know what to do, even though they definitely enjoyed the experience. So there's a test of an idea. For 6 years it was great, and then it got too complicated. So
Exactly.
that's that.
I think when I go to, I don't know if I would call them festivals, town events on greens and things like that in Guilford and in Madison, granted, they have a much more,
Consolidated.
they have a friendly space of having all their vendors on a green or on a main street that we don't have, but there's a sidewalk sale, there are jewelry makers, there are pie people, there are candy makers, that sort of thing. And I see them in every town. And this year basically was just art, except for a couple of trucks of the slip.
In the hands-on, the kids area.
Right, but I think the adults,
Show stuff, yeah.
right, but I think the adults would buy pottery and jewelry.
But the problem, MJ, is that there's no one to run it. So
Well, that's true.
Properties are just figuring out, what can I do? And there's no one who can, we don't have a town staff person like an economic development, whatever you call them, director, or a chamber of commerce that's going to put the time in.
But the Lime
Fun.
Academy did a lot more in the past, and now that needs perhaps to be re-looked at,
Well, they had to make the decision for themselves, was it something they were willing to put staff time into this year?
Right.
And because they were changing directors, and because their staff is very focused on workshops and teaching, they chose not to participate this year.
Well, that's unfortunate because they had the biggest lawn space. It drew people to that side, and I think that the dog show was down there.
No, the dog show was always at Flo Grizz, yeah, that was always the Flo Grizz.
But they have the lot across the street where
Yeah.
people parked.
We had that this year, yeah.
So, I just wondered if they would reconsider it.
Well, there'll be a meeting of the partners, probably early September, to say, are we committing to doing this again next year?
And maybe you can bring some of the
I
feedback.
don't mind it staying on that side of 95. I don't. I think it just gets confusing when you think you're missing something if it's on the other side. And even me looking at the map, I never came on the other side of 95, but my husband did, and he said, there's nothing going on over there.
Right.
So I was like, all right, we're not going to bother. But it's better to be like, you know what, there's nothing over there. Let's just focus everything on the other side, get the other side as good as possible. When him and I went to the car show, trying to walk from shade to shade, there was like nothing over there for a lot of sections. Like I'm so used to the Flo Grizz having a ton of stuff. There was nothing. And then I was like, well, you might as well just park cars right here. It would have been easier to have some cars but I guess because it was after the dog show, and then it was just cleared out. There was nothing there. So I don't know. It just makes you feel like.
Was there anything at Roger Tory Peterson on their
Well,
property?
that was the car
was-
show. And
that
the
was
car
the
show
car
was
show.
late. They had people sign up for the car show and not show up because it rained in the morning.
Oh, they were-
Those guys had to decide if they were going to
Bring their
risk
car.
the rain. And the Flo Grizz made a conscious decision that they weren't doing certain things, and that was what they could handle this year. And it's been very hard coming back from the pandemic as well.
Oh, I believe that.
Because these staffs are stretched really, really thin.
I
So,
still was impressed by this is not quite relevant, but by the number of people who stopped by our
yes,
kiosk.
yeah.
And yeah, where are you from? Oh, we're from up by Hartford. Oh, we're from so-and-so. Or where you always come down here in the summer from far away. A couple from Montreal who were visiting people down there wanted to see this. It's lovely down here, they said. So there's a lot of nice stuff like that we,
Plus,
I don't know whether we can we can harness it, but it is a really
Right.
positive sentiment.
And we're unique because we only do it once a summer, whereas some of these little street fairs and things that are so well attended and people just drift in and out of are a couple times a month, or they move from town to town. So we have to
It has its
differentiate
giant
ourselves.
Here from Southington, right? So
Right.
the Apple Harvest Festival is
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
right? So, but they have a committee of volunteers that run that, you know? But it's a huge moneymaker for the nonprofits. So they have nonprofits come in, take up a booth, they're allowed to serve food, so, you know, they do their thing. And then on an honor system, they pay 10% of what they make back to the town to do that.
That's the Apple Festival,
Yeah.
right.
So, I mean, of
Apple
course,
fritters.
the apple fritters are the big draw.
Right.
The Lutheran
Now-
Church makes those.
And is there an entrance fee, an admission fee,
No,
or just people are buying
It
food?
close off the downtown.
Yeah,
I mean, you have a very quaint downtown here, you know, so when you first talked about this festival, since I'm new, I thought it was all down here.
Right.
and it has been
Because
in the past.
you have a very
yeah.
quaint downtown, and you should show it off, really. Because up there, and I'm not saying it's a bad spot,
Yeah.
but that's a busy spot right there, like Carwell.
You were observing
Car-wise,
the
yeah.
traffic dismay from time to time as people were trying to cut in and out.
Yeah.
Like a big tractor trailer.
That idea, like, that's so neat about nonprofits could sell food, because I'll tell you, I could have used more food. I ended up having to leave and go home so I could get some food, because I was about to pass out at like noonish.
Yeah.
There really wasn't anything.
So they get the health department, they have to get certified by the health department, but then they can put on, like, every nonprofit every year has a certain food, and everybody looks forward to that. So it's not just the apple fritters. Like, I used to always go to the motorcycle gang out of Waterbury, they made great chili.
Oh,
So I'd go get their chili, you know, so, I mean, there's all those things, and they make money for the nonprofits.
I think.
Maybe that could substitute.
That could-
well, but how many people are on this committee?
I don't know, it's, you know, it almost went down one year, but then they revived it.
Yeah.
But I think if you told them they could make money.
Well, I'm talking about the planning committee. So you've got the nonprofits who are, many of them are volunteer-run.
Right,
Just to pull together a booth
right.
can often be difficult, but then to sell food, you know, that, but then on top of that, there's a planning committee. And it's, people are stretched thin in this town. You know, people don't have time to,
Yeah, they hire a paid person to be,
well, that's it
oversee
right
it
there.
all.
That's
But they
it
get
right
paid out
there.
of the proceeds.
Yeah.
So it's one guy who does it every year, he gets paid for the rest of the volunteers.
And that's
then
what you
they-
really need is a
And then they
paid
do
person.
like a pageant with the high school kids to kind of grab all them in, and they actually volunteer at the thing.
Ah.
A
So they-
pageant?
Well, they do like apple, forget what they called it. but
The
they-
apple queen and king.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it brings in the high school kids, and then they have them volunteer, so they volunteer for the festival. And then you know, like, I belonged to the Big White Church there for a number of years, and that was a huge fundraiser for us. We would sell space
Wow.
on our grounds.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'd pull in $10,000 to $15,000 over the 2 weekends, so.
Well, maybe you should take it up and try and,
You're an idea man.
Just,
Yeah.
the thing, this has been addressed by Manchester and Middletown. Middletown has car shows that seem to run during the evening, all summer. Manchester has a whole day, maybe it's 2 days, both sides of the street. It's a very, very wide main street
Yeah.
with classic cars, hot rods, whatever, and lots of small businesses mixed in. I don't know how they mix them in, but it's also pretty, speaking of going from shade to shade, there's no shade on Manchester's Main Street, but
No.
it's long. I mean, it's long, like a half a mile on either side, and it's full of people.
Yeah. We have a lot of little shops down
Yeah,
there. I used to
and
work
the
in
shops
Manchester.
are all open, right.
Yeah. And then the library.
In the interest of a couple of people needing to leave, is there any other official EDC business to discuss right now? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Yeah.
Okay, MJ, and second? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.